Make no mistake about it, this rivalry is well and live in both programs. It still means something to both fan bases, and I'm excited to come away with a win and on the road, well-coached head Cooley team, and they're going to be good.
No college basketball rivalries have quite the storied history as Syracuse and Georgetown. The two schools met for the 99th time today, and the first time in nearly half a century without Jim Boeheim in the building. So in the first chapter of Adrian Autry's book, the Orange got the job done, 80-68, down in the nation's capital for a first road win against the Hoyas since 2017. How did it all happen? That you're going to have to watch to find out. Welcome to Orange Press Pass. Let's get it going. Thanks so much for joining here on Orange Press Pass. I'm Philip Galati. That's Adam Gotkin and Adam Avin. That's definitely not going to be confusing, but stick with us. We're here to break down everything about SU's 80-68 win over Georgetown. So we're going to start this show, as we always start, with the first impression of the 99th edition of the rivalry bout. First thoughts, Adam.
I mean, this is a massive win for Syracuse and a massive win for Adrian Autry. It doesn't matter that Syracuse and Georgetown may not be national title contenders like they used to be, but these teams still played close games. For the last 5 times that these teams played in D.C., it was Georgetown who came out on top. So for Adrian Autry to get the win in his first year as head coach, I think that's absolutely huge.
I think it was a huge win for the Orange, but the person that I was looking at the most, the thing that stood out to me was that J.J. Starling, the point guard transfer from Notre Dame, had finally arrived. There have been a little things missing from his game since he's come back home to Syracuse, but the shooting, he found it today, and I know we're going to get into more, but he really impressed me.
So it was the first road win for Syracuse against Georgetown since 2017. So let's take a look at the tape, roll it back, and go down to the nation's capital to see how it all went down. Similar records coming into this one, and it was a very similar back-and-forth game in the opening 20 minutes. Familiar sight for the Orange faithful. Chris Bell, good from deep for the early lead. And then how about a not-so-familiar sight? Some good defense from the boys in the script jerseys. Malik Brown with the steal. Judah Mintz with the tough layup up off the glass, good for 2. And then another good play on defense for the Orange. In fact, Coach Autry's boys had 20 points off of turnovers. J.J. Starling connecting from deep. Adam, you talked about him playing well. We're going to talk about him plenty later on, but Georgetown played well as well. A big 3, Jay Heath making it 17-17. How about Supreme Cook with the slam, completely unmarked in the paint? Make it a 1-point game, and then a 1-point game in favor of the Hoyas with Ismail Massoud. And then up steps Munir Hima? What? Yeah, we're saying his name for the first time this season on the score sheet. Syracuse goes in the locker room up 35-34. And then, well, it was more good defense from Syracuse. That was a huge key for this team in the second half. Malik Brown with a no-nonsense slam. But Georgetown far from down and out. Rowan Brumbach completely unguarded at the top of the key, and a swish for 3. That's when the Orange really started to pull away, but not before Supreme Cook had one more thing to say from underneath the rim. You like dunks? We got a couple for you right here. How about Quadir Copeland with a good slam? Make that 61-53 Syracuse. And then another good play on the defensive end from who else but Judah Mintz. And in a rivalry game, you need a one-handed dunk. And you got one, but there's one more that was even a little bit better. Oh my goodness! Quadir Copeland. No, sir. Syracuse gets the win, 80-68. A big one for the Orange on the road. And when you look at the stats, there's a lot to talk about. J.J. Starling is one of them.
Yeah, and the fact that he actually made his shots today, 8 for 14 from the field. The issue all season with J.J. has been he's not able to be efficient, but he was today.
Yeah, Drew the bench, 25 points, 6 of 12 shooting, but he was at the free throw line a lot today for Syracuse, and that helped Syracuse have a little bit of an edge at the end of the game.
Well, it's a live post-game show, and it wouldn't be complete without a live reporter down in the District of Columbia. Liam Griffin, welcomed into the show. Thanks so much for joining us. Got to start things off with the elephant in the room. It was a 1-point game at the break, but then Syracuse really started to pull away. So what helped them get the big win in the second half?
Philip, I think the big thing you need to look at when going from the first half to the second half is the energy. In the first half of the game, really for the first 10 in particular, SU looked a little bit sluggish and almost a little bit nervous because this is the Syracuse-Georgetown rivalry. And it felt like a big one, considering you have 2 new head coaches coming in. But the second half, oh man, it just looked like a completely different team. And you want to give a shout out to one guy in particular, Claudio Colpin. I mean, my jaw dropped when he had that putback dunk. But it wasn't just that. He was making quick passes, he was active on defense, and he was getting to the cup when he wasn't getting offensive rebounds. So, Philip, the big thing from the first half to the second half was the energy miles apart.
Hey, Liam, I hope you're enjoying your time in the nation's capital. I was there the last time that these teams played in D.C., and it was about 50-50 Syracuse-Georgetown fans. What was that crowd split like today?
Adam, the fans, to be quite frankly, were awesome. It was really surreal because it almost felt like there were more Orange fans than Hoyas fans at times. And that's not to say Georgetown fans didn't make their presence known. There was a Let's Go Orange versus Let's Go Hoyas chant at one point, and the Georgetown student section vehemently booed the SU players on their way out to the court. I mean, the entire lower bowl here at Capital One Arena was filled to the brim. The second deck was mostly filled. Even the upper deck, which I got to admit, I did not expect them to sell tickets to this game in the upper deck of Capital One Arena, but even still, it was around 40% to halfway full. The fans in this game, Adam, were awesome, and to be quite honest, it made it feel like an old-school Syracuse-Georgetown game.
Liam, hope you're doing well, my friend. I want to ask you about Naheem McLeod. He struggled a little bit on defense today, gave up a wide-open layup, and Coach Autry looked a little frustrated and pulled him from the game, but it seems like there might have been something else going on. Can you give a little update on Naheem McLeod?
Yeah, Adam. Naheem McLeod, when he was on the court for only 4 minutes in this game, didn't exactly look terribly comfortable. Was slow in his defensive rotations, and when he subbed out with 2 minutes into the game, I'm like, oh boy, is there something actually wrong, or is Adrian Autry taking him out because of his play? Because remember, he only played 12 minutes against Cornell on Tuesday night, and Malik Brown comes in 2 minutes in. We got a Munir Hema sighting, which, to be honest, he looked better than he did at any point last season, in my opinion, with how active he was as an interior presence, both offensively and defensively. But like you said, Adam, Autry did mention it. It is a toe issue. We don't know how serious it may be, but he did not play in the second half of today's game. Even still, Hema played well enough to the point where, are you starting to consider some questions, as did Malik Brown as well? Even though he's undersized, Adam, I think today with McLeod not playing a ton against Cornell and then going out with that toe injury like we talked about, it creates some really serious questions about this team's center longevity.
Well, that's our live reporter, Liam Griffin, down in Washington, D.C. Make sure you follow him on X, @RealLiamGriffin, for his post-game video later tonight. Liam, thanks so much. See you soon. All right, we're going to take one quick break here, our first of the day on Orange Press Pass, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at the tape and let our analysts stretch our legs a little bit. A closer look at how the Orange got the job done, rather, on the other side of the break.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother, you, your football buddy, your football buddy, you, your plumber.
Breathe right into your foot.
Your plumber's masseuse.
Yes.
You, your dog walker, your cat jogger. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back to Orange Press Pass. I'm Philip Galati, and that's Adam Gotkin and Adam Avin over there at the wall. We're going to break down a little bit more of Syracuse's 80-68 win over Georgetown. And when we really dig into the story of how this game turned out, the first thing that sticks out is the turnovers. Syracuse had the season average of 12, so not much to be concerned about on that side, but they did have 20 points off of turnovers from Georgetown. So Adam, when you look at the turnovers, what was the difference today for SU?
You know, the game really changed when the Orange started to pick up the pace and pick up the pressure. When Syracuse turned Georgetown over, that's when the Cuse really started to pull away. And that's the same thing that we've seen all season long. This Syracuse team is better when they force turnovers. They had 20 points off of turnovers, like you said. And after the game, Adrian Autry said it pretty simply. We want to play fast. And when this team played fast, it ended up working out.
Yeah, this team, they played well in the second half, capitalizing off those turnovers, but the Orange had 8 turnovers themselves in the first half, and when you're going up against a tougher opponent, that is not just going to cut it. You have to be able to hold on to the ball, just like we talked about with Syracuse football, the lack of discipline there with the penalties, the turnovers. Same thing goes for Syracuse basketball as well. You got to hold on to the ball and help you create a lead before it gets too close.
All right, let's turn our focus to Georgetown for a second, which is not a fun thing to do if you're an SU fan, but just bear with us for a second. Georgetown went 5 for 26 from deep. That's 19%. It's never a good thing when you have a 1 in the tens digit. But anyways, Adam, was this a case of good Syracuse defense or bad Georgetown shot selection?
You took the words right out of my mouth, Phil. I was thinking back and forth when we were watching the game, like, is it bad Syracuse defense or is Georgetown, just shooting the ball pretty poorly and just having an off day? I think it was a little bit of both because the shot selection from the Hoyas was not good. They went 5 for 26, 19%. That's a Georgetown team that shoots close to 40% from 3, but Syracuse, you got to take what you can get. They got the boards, they capitalized off those missed threes, and end up winning the game.
Yeah, this three-point shooting for me for Georgetown all stemmed with their star player, Jaden Epps. Entering the game, he shot 46% on the season. Today, just 1 for 9. And that was really good Syracuse defense, in my opinion. Adrian Autry said that the big thing with stopping Epps was going to be crowding him on screens. Whenever Jaden Epps took the ball, the Orange were going to be double-teaming him. They were not going to give him any room, and that's exactly what Syracuse did. Very successful on the defensive end. They didn't give Epps any room to feel comfortable at all, and that's why the Cuse were so successful.
All right, and then last but not least, let's take a look at the guards play. We've talked a little bit about Judah Mintz, J.J. Starling, but Quadir Copeland as well. Those 3 combined for 60 of the 80 points today for the boys in orange. So when you talk about the guard play, because the question is really, these are all talented players. They haven't really meshed so far in 2023. They did today. So what was the key difference that saw so much success from those players?
Yeah, they really meshed today, and for me, it's just continuing. I love Judah Mintz, and I love how he plays basketball. And he really started to get more involved when it came to team ball today. Let's take a look at a play here with Judah Mintz running the point. He has been so good this season when it comes to that. It starts off here, and usually we'll just see him drive. But no, he actually kicks it out to Benny Williams. The little give and go, and one heck of a finish here from Judah Mintz. And let's take another look at it. Take a look at it a little bit slower. I mean, how about this just team communication, this chemistry? This is something that comes with time, and as time has gone on, this team has gotten better at that, and you cannot teach finishing like Judah Mintz does it.
You know, Judah's been the guy all year, Adam, and he's been incredible to watch, just his improvement. But the guy I've been waiting for to show up today was J.J. Starling, who had finally arrived. Let's take a look at some of J.J.'s plays from today. He was aggressive, he brought the energy, and he was doing it all for the Orange all game long. You see right here, he takes a shot, misses, shakes it off, gets the board, and puts it under a few Georgia defenders. Now this play right here, later in the game, it's the second half, 10 minutes left, spot up 3, deep, bang! He went 3 of 3 from deep today in this one. The shooting hasn't been there for JJ so far this season, but that showing there was really impressive.
Adam, I like it, the JJ plays. Well, he sent the Orange fans into a JJ craze. yeah, not my best work, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? He didn't miss any of his shots from deep. 3 for 3 from behind the arc, 8 for 14 on the day for a season best 21 points. His previous best mark was 17 against Canisius all the way back in November. He did hit 23 with Notre Dame in his freshman year. Sky's the limit for the Baldwinsville kid. The question is, come 2024, can he keep that momentum going? Well, you gotta hope so. At least for today, in a rivalry game, he is our deserved Orange Press Pass player of the game. All right, let's take one more break here at the Waverly Avenue Studios. When we come back, it's time to play a game. Wrapping up shop here in the semester, so we're putting our best professor impressions on and dealing out some grades on our report card. Stick with us.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. One in 3 adults has prediabetes, and you could be one of them. There are usually no signs for prediabetes, so it's important to understand your risk. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Welcome back to Orange Press Pass. That's Adam Gotkin and I'm Avin. I'm Philip Galati. We're feeling festive here in our studios. It's the holiday season, but before we get to Christmas and Hanukkah and all that good stuff, we got to get through final exams. We're doing our best professor impressions and giving out some final grades for SU men's basketball. And we start with J.J. Starling. We've been talking about him a little bit, our player of the game here in Orange Press Pass. In terms of a final grade, what would you give him so far in 2023?
Now look, don't get me wrong. This was a great game today from J.J. Starling, but just one good game isn't going to get you a great grade. I'm at a C- for J.J. Starling, just because overall he hasn't been good throughout the year. It felt like all throughout the first couple games, the offense kind of died whenever J.J. took the ball. Look, he was great today, but for me to give you a C or higher, you have to be consistent throughout the entire season, and J.J. Starling just has not been that so far.
You know, Adam, I think we've all experienced when you're struggling in a class and you need a professor to boost your grade up right at the end of the semester. That's what happens today. JJ's performance bumped him up to a B- for me. Look, I know we haven't seen everything from JJ that we've wanted to see so far this year, but I think he has had some good points, especially Judah struggled a couple times. Some other players haven't shown up like JJ has. And so JJ today, he had a really good game. I think I'm going with a B-.
A little bit up and down as the season's gone on, but talking about some players who can get up, and it's the big men for Syracuse. Naheem McLeod, as we mentioned, didn't see a ton of him today. Saw a lot of Malik Brown playing good defense, a little bit of Quadir Copeland as well, and Munir Hima scoring points. Can't believe it. So what would you give the big men a grade for this year?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a C-, pretty much because Malik Brown, I think, has had an excellent year, and he's the one that's keeping them in that C range. But pretty much everyone else, for the most part, is dragging those big men down. Because Naheem McLeod, the starting center, he's 7'4". Sometimes he's out there just like a big tree. He's tall, but he's not really doing much. He's running kind of slow. He's not blocking shots like we'd like him to or playing the defense that we'd like him to, so I'm going C-.
I feel like such a negative Nancy over here. I'm going all the way down to a D for the big man. It's because Naheem McLeod just has not done enough. This team doesn't have a real center. Malik Brown is not a center at his best. He's a 3 or a 4. I mean, you heard Kadir Copeland say after the game that he's a point guard. And he's someone who's almost been playing the 4 sometimes. So this team just does not have a true big man. And I think as we get deeper into the season, as we get into ACC play, that flaw is going to get exposed more and more and more. You saw it get exposed against Purdue and Gonzaga and Maui when the Orange played real, true, top caliber big men. They haven't seen those type of guys recently. They didn't see it today against Georgetown. So for me, they haven't proven that they can get it done against the best teams and even against some of the worst teams. I mean, this team has gotten out-rebounded time after time after time this season.
Wow, you guys are rough, man. Happy holidays. Come on, we got the Darla and the menorah not feeling anything. These tough professors, tough professors. All right, one more subject we got to get to, and it's the big man, Adrian Autry. It's crazy to imagine Syracuse basketball without Jim Boeheim, but that is the reality this year. So for his first couple games in charge, what are you rating the man at the helm?
This is where I'm more positive. I'm giving Adrian Autry an A because he has done everything that you could expect from him so far this season. The Orange have won every game that they should, and they've lost every game that they should. You can't get mad at Autry for not beating 2 top 15 teams in the country, but to go on the road and beat Georgetown, to beat LSU in the ACC SEC Challenge, that's all stuff that's impressive. Look, this is one of the younger teams in the country. This is a team where Benny Williams is your most experienced player, so not at all an easy task for Adrian Autry, but record-wise, this team is exactly where they should be.
Look, I know we have the same name, but we might not agree on everything. I agree with you on this. I'm also giving Adrian Autry an A because, like you said, we didn't expect him to come in and beat Jim Boeheim right away and turn this program around for the first time in 47 years, but they're winning the games that they have to win, and I think that's most important. They're showing signs that there could be a real future here. We're seeing some top recruits come. J.J. Starling obviously transferring into this program, coming back home to Syracuse. Adrian Autry, his main original recruiter, and hopefully, just like Fran Brown with football, Adrian Autry can get some other top recruits to join the future of this program and make Syracuse a title contender once again.
There we go. A little bit of positivity. How about it, huh? Nothing's impossible. All right, we're going to take one last break here on Orange Press Pass. When we come back, we're going to look a little bit around the NCAA and what's next for the Orange in 2024. Stick with us.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
Wrapping up shop here on Orange Press Pass, the last OPP of the year, last show of 2023. But before we get to that, there's still a little bit to do. Philip Galati, Adam Gotkin, Adam Avin. We start with taking a look around the NCAA. What's been going on besides the brawl down in the nation's capital? The Army-Navy game off to a good start. Army with a 7-0 lead down in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Shout out to the Commonwealth. Curious to see what catches your guys' eyes on the screen.
I mean, it's Army-Navy for me. I grew up as a Navy football fan. I love the Army-Navy game. The triple option, it's incredible. But outside of that, I mean, how about that Purdue-Alabama game? The Boilermakers have not looked too great ever since Maui. And how about that Crimson Tide team after the incredible season they had last year? This year, a little bit shaky coming in, but to play a Purdue team like that close is really impressive from Nate Oates' squad.
I don't know how either of you didn't mention number 24, Clemson with Joe Girard, Syracuse's former guard. I mean, today, with J.J. Starling scoring all over the place, I didn't miss him one bit, but when I see Clemson's ranked, I miss JG3 so much. The other day, him and Jim were on the ACC postgame show. That was hilarious. Clemson has been balling, and so has JG3.
It's a good Tigers team. They just beat South Carolina at home. I mean, Clemson's one of the best teams in the ACC right now, I think.
That's a good segue as well. Let's take a look at the standings in the Atlantic Coast Conference to talk a little bit about Joe Girard. Clemson was picked to finish 5th in the ACC. They haven't dropped a game all year. Meanwhile, Duke absent from that list after a couple unranked losses to Arkansas and Georgia Tech. What really sticks out to you looking at the standings?
I mean, it's the fact that this is an ACC that's really just not great. And that's something that I think everyone knew coming into the season, that the ACC was going to be the worst of the Power 6 conferences. But I mean, everyone in this conference kind of struggling to get by right now. It's going to be a dogfight once January starts.
Yeah, well, like you said, Adam, I mean, the conference right now isn't great, but I mean, Syracuse will hopefully be able to rack up some wins and work their way up into the ACC standings. But still, some of the blue bloods that you'd expect to be at the top of the ACC, obviously, UNC's up there right now. Miami's still playing really solid, and so some of the people you expect to be at the top are there, but obviously we want Syracuse a lot.
So as we focus the scope a little bit closer now on Syracuse, as you mentioned, Adam, and the upcoming schedule for the Orange, wrapping up the non-conference slate, and then Pitt in December.
Yeah, I mean, how about that Oregon game up next in Sioux Falls? But I think that Pitt game to start off ACC play is going to be the biggest game. It's one of the biggest games of the year because you got to start off, the home stretch of conference play strong, and you got to beat Niagara in between there. You cannot look ahead against Niagara. I know they're 1-6, but this is still another upstate New York squad coming over from Buffalo.
Pitt and Syracuse over the past couple of years have really gone to battle in pretty much every sport. And so I'm looking at that one. I think that is going to be a crucial game for the Orange going forward. That, again, starts more of the ACC play for them, and they really need to get to work.
And you got to remember, the Orange 5-0 when playing in the JMA Dome, so that's a good sign for the Orange faithful before 2024 rolls around. And before the new year gets underway, we want to take a second to thank the people that make this show possible. Executive producer Jacob Bernardini, associate producers Nathaniel Cunningham, Rihanna Abil, and Gabe Perrin. I mean, these four have taken this show to new heights. Best show for a reason. It's been an absolute pleasure working with all four of them. Just creative people, hardworking, professional, and of course, a special shout out to Mr. Bernardini, the pride of North Texas, who will be leaving the Hill a little bit sooner than many of us would have hoped. But it's always been a pleasure to work with these four, and I'm sure you two feel the same way.
Absolutely. I'll miss all four of those producers very much.
But shout out to Rihanna, the new EP next semester. She's going to do a great job with her new crew, but this crew has been some of our closest friends, and it's been great to work alongside them this year.
All right, let's get our final thoughts from the boys before we get out of here.
Look, for me, it's that this Oregon game is absolutely massive. Syracuse back onto the national stage, heading over to the Dakotas. I've never been there. I don't even know if those places exist, but you're back on the national stage, taking on a Pac-12 team. This is a huge game for Syracuse, and one that I think if they win, I mean, this team maybe get close towards receiving votes territory, just 2 losses against top 15 teams. If you beat Oregon, we're looking up.
Look, if we beat Oregon, yeah, we're looking up, but that's why my final thought is I'm cautiously optimistic. We had a good showing today. They're winning the games that they're supposed to be winning, but we do need to see a good win against legit competition for them to be in that conversation to receive votes. That's why I'm waiting before I jump ahead.
Always a pleasure with Adam Gotkin and Adam Avin, and of course, the 4 producers that we shouted out earlier. Thanks so much for tuning in all year long For everything that Citrus TV Sports does, we appreciate your support. I'm Philip Galati saying so long to 2023. Have a happy and healthy holiday season.